Hi.
Hello. Today is a very special episode of This Little Jewel. That truck that we've been neglecting, the car carrier project, took a little time. We had some decision making to do, and Dunn made a decision. I was thinking about a diesel engine, asking about the Cummins 5.9, a couple other options. And really, for me, it's about availability and then, of course, the reputation of where you're getting an engine from. So I like to source locally, and a good friend, Tom, you the man, trying to keep some anonymity here, but he's like, yeah, dude, I got a 427 Big Block. It was a 396. It was in a race car, not like a drag race car, but some kind of other race car. It's a good unit. I'll freshen it up for you in trade for a chop top I did on his truck, on his pickup truck, and worked out just fine. I was going to use the engine in a possible other project, and I decided that the chassis for this little jewel was set up for a big block Chevy, so why mess with it, right? It was destined to be there. So this piece over here, the large orange shape on the furniture dolly, is I assume to be a late 60s, early 70s, 396 Big Block. Tom took it all apart, checked everything out, had the heads redone. He said that the lower end looked really solid. This probably has, limited hours, but it was racing. So he said everything inside looks good. It's definitely bored. It's upgraded, whatever they did. I don't know if they stroked the crank, bored the cylinders, but from a 396 block, it's now a 427. And the heads, he said something's been decked. The compression is raised. In short, it's got a lot of power.
Wow.
Yeah. So Tom recommended that we kind of downgrade the performance on the top end, the RPM range. He said, get yourself one of those RV cams, they're called, the camshaft. So it's more bottom end torque for a larger, relatively slower moving vehicle than a race car. So again, he took it all apart, checked everything out, installed the RV style cam and different intake manifold, fresh distributor. He said that he brought the oil pressure up, did the valve gap, etc. I got a fresh carburetor for it. Exhaust headers are on order. So I got some of this. I wanted it simple. The diesel engines, I mean, they are super simple, but it's a little bit foreign to me. Like, I've worked with this standard thing, small block, big block Chevy. So I'm thinking, you're driving down the road, something goes wrong. It always goes wrong with cars. This thing is like universal in the United States. You can get pretty much every part for it everywhere. So I was thinking simplicity. So on order right now is a water pump. Got a couple pulleys that Tom gave me as well. This little neck here for the coolant. I already have a nice radiator set up that'll work for this. And that's kind of the jam. We're going to go with a gasoline-powered BBC. What's that stand for?
Big Block
Chevy.
Chevy. I was going to say carburetor, but that didn't make any sense.
Big Block carburetor. Also, this is a race-prepped 350 trans. A lot of people probably think, oh yeah, that Big Block's going to just chow this thing. But it's been race-prepped by a local talent. Again, never installed. Fresh out the rebuild. And I'm just going to run it. For what we're doing, I'm going to talk about the chassis in a few minutes. Being that it's a four-wheel drive truck chassis, only running the front drive, you can only put so much power through that differential and half shafts to the front tires. So I'm betting that this big torque monster engine, and this transmission will work synchronistically well enough to power this thing in a front wheel drive application. So, of course, if you're racing a car and you're going to drag race it, you're going to need a big Turbo 400, a hydromatic, like whatever kind of transmission. But both of these were gotten through horse trading. I did some work for a guy. I got some stuff. So again, the Chevy stuff is pretty much universally bolt together, unbolt together. If I roast this transmission, I can get the biggest, baddest transmission. Bell housings match, change the rear mount. We're off to the races. I mean, we're off to the trailering again. So that's kind of where we're at. Are there any questions?
No.
Well then, I'll continue. Currently, I work with a lot of like junkyard parts, to say the least, or dismantlers parts. So I've actually never ordered motor mounts for a Chevy engine. So I got these two, and I knew that there's a part of it missing. The part that goes to the engine block is these 3 bolts here. So this little flat dealie lands on the chassis mount, and then there's another part that's coming in the mail. And then, of course, the headers bolt on here, ordered a dipstick, ordered a few other things. One other thing I was thinking about, with the diesel engines I was considering, they were an inline 6-cylinder, and that's a fairly tall engine. I'm not sure how tall it is in comparison, oil pan height to top of the deal with the Big Block, but I know that that chassis has this engine set pretty low between the frame rails, and it's a cab over truck, so I'm trying to keep the floor height, within reason. So that was kind of the deal maker and the deal breaker. Tom had a good old drivetrain, and it was there for the getting. At this moment, I'd like to direct ourselves out the door.
Let me
Put on my hat.
Let me put on my sunglasses.
We are back to summertime. The seasons change in the high desert from day to day. It was snowing on some of our other videos, and now it is summer.
It's so wild to think that.
It's hot. So in another episode, we introduced this and then began to clean it up, and here it still sits. It's no longer muddy.
It has not moved.
Everything is dried out, but it is a 1990 Chevy, I assume 2500. It's a 4-wheel drive truck front clip. It's pretty gross right now, but I'm considering how we're going to repair it. What I want to talk about was this. When you look at these 2 plates, those other black shapes that I showed you, the motor mounts or engine mounts, see, they bolt directly onto this. So I'm not going to have to do any fabrication or weird business. This chassis was designed for a Big Block Chevy engine. You got the transfer case back of there, and I have the drive shaft that connects them. Probably a little bit different change in length according to the transmission I'm using, but that's what made the deal sealed for me. Was it's just going to bolt right in.
So it'll be fairly easy then to put the engine in, is what you're saying.
Some of the other diesel engines we were considering, they're massive, right? And then the sump and the oil pan, some of them are in the front, in the back, and I was like, what are we doing here? Like, it's just got to look cool and move. I'm not trying to, prove anything.
We're pretty much going to take it, locally, California or
And
Arizona,
of course,
Nevada.
it's going to be thirsty. 5, 10 miles per gallon, maybe. But right now in the neighborhood, gasoline's less expensive than diesel. So that's what we're up to. I made the decision. I'm going to make a cross member for the transmission to suit, and we're going to carry on. I just needed an engine and transmission decision so I could get the cab back up here and decide how's this thing all going to go together. That was the primary lagging point.
And you're very busy with your other job.
And I actually have a day job. This isn't really my priority on the grand scale of things. But all that aside, this is a torsion bar front suspension, which is pretty cool. I was thinking it would have airbags, but with these torsion bars, you can index them to whatever ride height you want in the end. And maybe even for me, I would put some assist airbags on the front. So the torsion bars controlled the whole ride, and then the airbags could either raise it up if we're going down our rutty road, or depending on how I set it, they could just drop the whole thing. So there's options here. It's going to be a lot of work. This is not going to happen in a 1-hour episode.
How many parts do you think we'll get up to? Like, we're up to part 15 now.
Oh, easily in the hundreds.
Yeah.
You gotta subscribe, because you could go into the next millennia.
And I have a whole playlist dedicated to little Jules' build.
Yeah, so we got some requests about, hey, what's up with that truck? So yeah, that's where we're at. Let's go over and check out the cab. I'm working on some things with that. Again, the magic of this unit is it's the 4-wheel drive converted to only front-wheel drive. You can point at that giant metal thing. Transfer case does not run the rear wheels. It's only front-wheel drive. A little bit archaic, a little bit cool. I fell in love with it from the moment it was presented. It's an air ride trailer that telescopes out 4 feet. It goes from about 14 feet to 18 feet. And the cab's over here.
There's our Super Bloom, guys.
Super Bloom is starting to fade. The heat's getting to it. 5 days ago, it was really coming up. And it's just that fast out here. This was the original chassis for Little Jewel, and I'm currently working on getting the registration and title in order. Fortunately, it's a California vehicle, so I'm going to get the title and everything set for that. And here it sits. It's been a little while. Let's turn it around and take a look. One cool thing about the older trucks, because California is very strict about the DMV experience, especially with emissions control. Fortunately, this is about a 1956 or 57, so it's exempt from the strict smog stuff, which I will go on record as saying I'm personally not a fan. But yeah, the front clip's here. Just to do a little mock-up, because it's Wednesday and we're spending some time.
Oh, with the new headlights. Yay.
Yeah, we did some work on this part. There's no smoke and mirrors in this production.
Sorry. It's just funny.
If you work on cars, you know this struggle. Jamie's a little bit new to this, and it's like, it's not glamorous. There's a lot of banging, a lot of misstepping. There's sheep in our backyard. Look at them, they're flocking.
Oh my gosh, they are over there. Let's see if I can pan over there. Maybe you guys can see it, but there's... Maybe everyone can see it, but there's a flock of sheep back behind our house.
And there's actually a shepherd with a truck.
Yeah, he's over there somewhere.
And some dogs.
But they've been around our house, what now, for a day and a half?
They've been in the neighborhood for about a week.
But
So in the other episodes, we did a whole bunch of work on hammering out the hood on this and replacing these headlights, but it's not a pickup truck where the orientation of the grille is this far out. It's a cab over where that sits that close. This is all custom made by someone in the past. That was the selling point to me. This hood's going to be way too tall because you can gauge how it looks when the hood and windshield are in place. Like, that's actually the nose of the truck. So, yeah, just doing a little catch up on things. The weather's perfect out here. Here's Persephone. Persephone's brakes are in order. She's rocking. It's time for little Jewel to get back on track.